Hello, everybody. I'm Kipp Snow, Director of the Transportation Distribution and Logistics Institute at the Community College of Baltimore County.
Hey, everybody. Mike Singer, Community Manager, Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. So that's shirt and tie Kipp, and this is T-shirt Mike. It just we couldn't get it coordinated today.
Yeah, that's all right. Just happens sometimes. Have to roll. When you roll right out of the office, right out of class, starting, and it just is what it is.
Yeah. All right, so if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be alerted to new podcasts as they come available. And don't forget to share the podcast out to your friends and industry associates on social media. Let them know that you like what we're covering here, and have them give a listen.
Yeah, let your friends and colleagues know. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And then sometimes when we look at how many times our podcasts have been viewed, sometimes there's many, many friends and colleagues.
Yes.
Sometimes not.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I get it. I know that we haven't. There was about a week and a half since we last had a opportunity to do our episodes.
Yeah, we took a break.
Took a little break. But there's been quite a bit that's happened. So why don't we go ahead and get into our shipping updates, and then we'll get into everything else that's been happening over the past week and a half.
Right. Yeah, we really do have a lot of little stories, and they're all port related, so we're going to cover them.
Yep.
So as we go into our shipping updates, as we normally do, we're talking about truck transactions at Seagirt Marine Terminal, where they do the container ships. And what we're talking about is the daily average for the week. So how many truck transactions per day? Okay. So 4 weeks ago, 3,360. 3 weeks ago, 3,648. Last week, 3,640. And then, 2 weeks ago, last week was 3,428, but Monday was like 2,500. So that's really, that'll bring down your average. So if the average was 3,428 and Monday was 2,500, I don't feel like doing the math real quick in my head, but you can bet that Monday 2,500 total really brought down that average.
Right. And then so the rest of the week they had to kind of speed up to kind of catch up because of it. But
yeah. So that might have been 3 weeks at 3,600, which is pretty cool.
Sure, absolutely.
And just noticing some other stuff that I always pay attention to. I know we don't normally talk about it, but if you look at marine traffic, there were 4 outbound ships today. It was 6 yesterday. And there were 6 inbound ships. It was 3 yesterday, and there's 9 ships in Anchorage. And I'm talking about anything that's not to the port yet, to anything that's just out into the ocean or just coming off the ocean and coming up the bay, which is about 8 to 12 hours of travel time, depending on what ship you have and how fast they're going. Yeah.
So quite busy.
Yeah, it's and I was busy doing some other stuff today, and I didn't have time to really pay attention to the camera, although it's always on one of my screens on my laptop. But yeah, there was quite a bit of activity this evening. So,
okay.
It's always very dynamic. Sometimes it's, you might not see anything for 6 hours, and then all of a sudden it seems like all the ships are moving at one time, and you think, okay, we only have 3 sets of tugs here. You know what I mean? It's just interesting how many moves wind up being within a couple of minutes of each other or a half hour of each other. It is interesting to see how that all works. So this is from the Port of Baltimore. Let's get into our local Port of Baltimore news. This
Okay.
is actually from the Port of Baltimore social media channels. And so this is a container ship, the YM Trust. And so they're saying that this was on the 22nd. The port accomplished 2 new milestones in one day.
Hmm.
So this YM Trust, operated by Maersk, so which is interesting because we're going to talk about that a little bit later. It's operated by Maersk.
Okay.
Put that put that in your pocket and remember that for later.
Okay.
Because I'm always fascinated with who is the owner, who's the operator, who this some of this organizational stuff is like three deep, and I find myself getting confused. But I noticed that, and I want to just kind of remember it to make a point later.
Okay.
So this container ship, operated by Maersk, shattered 2 records at Seagirt Marine Terminal. 6,956 container moves. That's the amount of times a container is picked up, and 11,065 TEUs offloaded. Now, I did a quick Google search, and that's pretty much the TEU of this ship.
Wow.
So they took everything off?
And, well,
It's like there's this fascinating claim of, we set these 2 records, but now I have questions. I'm not sure I understand.
yeah. All right. So a couple of things without having the chance to go and ask a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But here's a couple of things.
Okay.
These ships are coming. They're visiting various ports,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not a one-to-one port. A ship is fully loaded in one port and then fully discharged in another port.
Mm-hmm.
So they're constantly picking up and discharging amongst their particular route structure that they put in place.
Sure.
When that happens, you've got they the way the ship is organized, with a manifest, and
Mm-hmm.
depending on the contents, the weight of the contents, because you got to put the containers in a position to
Sure. You got to have the ship balanced.
correct, and you have to adjust your ballast tanks to for that, but you also want to at the same time put the containers in order as best as you can to minimize the number of container moves at the terminal.
Mm-hmm.
Every container move costs money, it costs time, and so you want to try to minimize the number of those moves.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite possible that metric includes loading on the ship. It could be loading off the ship, and it could be movement while it's on the ship to get it to a container that may be below or further down in the stack.
Right. Well, I think that's what the first number says. 6,956 easy for me to say. Take 2. 6,956 container moves. The
Correct.
amount of times a container is picked up. So that could be, you might have to pick it up twice. You might have to pick it up and get it out of the way to get to something that's underneath because the route changed, or
Correct.
so it wasn't necessarily stacked and planned the way they wanted. But the second half of this says, and now I'm pretty sure I just cut and pasted this, and 11,065 20-foot equivalent units offloaded 11,065 offloaded. How can, if the TEU of the ship is real close to that, within 100, then how is that not basically taking everything off the ship?
Well,
I mean, that's what that says to me, but I've never
yeah.
known that they ever do that. So
we
and I know it didn't leave empty either. So
well, that would be my question is in that
because we were
press
watching.
release, did they discuss how many exports were on there?
No, this is the only data that they.
Sure.
Well, and then there's a little bit more, but grossing 33 moves per hour and 35 moves net productivity while also facing challenging weather and operational demands further demonstrated the teamwork and efficiency of the operations at Port of Baltimore, which, for a small joint, I think I think we're known for our productivity here as
Yes,
far as container moves is concerned.
absolutely. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen many metrics about efficiency of container moves here in our port
Mm-hmm.
over time.
Yeah. So, and here's another story that comes up every once in a while, and I never really have an answer, right? The answer would always be something generic like, well, let's hope they do that, or I think they'll do that, or, maybe one day they'll do that, or I hope maybe, I hate to be negative, have learned their lesson and you'll get what I'm getting.
Yep.
So, there is protection, ship protection for the Bay Bridge in the plans.
Now, let me make sure that we clarify. We don't
Yes.
make the mistake that I made when we
Please
were
do.
talking about this. This is about the Bay Bridge, the
Yes.
Chesapeake Bay Bridge.
Yes. Yes. So even though there was protection for the Key Bridge, it wasn't sufficient. And there basically is none for the Bay Bridge. But engineer friend of ours at the port meeting showed up with some printouts and said, "Hey, you might be interested in some of this." And I was like, "Oh, that's huge news."
Yes, yes.
Now the thing is, I guess nothing happens in government fast, and so we're talking about $529,000 of engineering money, engineering only, for 2025. And then there's like construction isn't even in the budget going forward. Now it might get added later, but
Right.
right now it's not in the budget at
I
all.
I'm wondering now that I've had a chance to process this one a little bit. I
Mm-hmm.
wonder if they need the engineering completed to figure out how much it is going to cost so that they can
Oh,
budget for it.
that certainly makes sense to me. I hadn't thought of that, but
So that may be the reason why they don't have the money allocated for it yet, because they don't know how much it's going to cost. You're having to
brilliant,
retrofit a bridge, an existing bridge with
brilliant,
today's standards of dolphin islands.
right? And then how many do you put? Where do you put them? How far out do you put them? Are you putting in? I mean, I see, because the other thing is when you look at them, and I just came up with this, right? When you look at, so let's say you're looking at a regular map, right? And the Bay Bridge is here. But the depth, the deeper part, like the ships are over here on Anchorage, right? They're over here on the left. And a lot of the ships come in closer to the eastern shore, and then they curve in and then they turn to be perpendicular to the bridge and go through the bridge channel, perpendicular to the bridge, which is something the Army Corps of Engineers designs on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
right? They want channels to be perpendicular to the bridge, or they want the bridge perpendicular to the
Right.
channel. Anyway, but then I was thinking, well, do you just put the bridge protection on the outside? Because if you've got a ship and the regular process is that you're going to come in and approach the bridge at an angle and then turn and go straight. Well, what if you get through this bridge and you lose your steering and then you wind up hitting the other bridge like further inbound? Are you? I mean, I wish I
Mm-hmm.
had maps and diagrams, but
Sure.
it's just because the bridges are so far apart, it just gets me thinking. Are they just putting, if here are the two bridges, are they just putting protection here and protection here, or are they going to try to put some in between? But I was told that this is typical kind of budget for
Mm. Okay.
something like this for engineering. So
All right. It'd be interesting to watch that and see what happens after the engineering dollars are spent and the designs come up and what the
now
time
here's
frame will
something
be.
for the research department.
Mm.
Delaware River just did this,
Okay. All right.
right? So we
Noted.
could kind of do a comparative, and they've got two bridges up there.
Yeah.
right? So, and we didn't even hear about it until they were working in the water,
Oh, okay.
right? I mean, I didn't even see an article on that until, they were
Right.
like, whatever, building the coffer dam to pour this, So it would be interesting to see like what was, when did the first engineering monies come from them? Is
Mm-hmm.
it comparable? And how long did it take for them to get started construction?
Sure.
Now budgeting from two different states, and
Mm-hmm.
right. So yeah, I mean, things can be different, but it would be interesting to kind of compare and contrast and see what the differences would be.
They're still doing the deck replacement too, aren't they? With the
Right on the Bay Bridge, right? And so they're, at night they close down the bridge, they cut off a section of the old deck, lift it off, bring in this prefabricated section, lift it in place. Next morning you drive over it. I mean, if you're not really an attentive person, I hope you are 200 feet above the water as you drive 60 miles an hour across 5 miles. But if you're somebody that's just kind of drive, I mean, you might not notice. I mean, the
right.
sections are wider, I think. The new sections are wider.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. I don't know how wider, but um, yeah, the new sections are wider. So and I have a video showing some of this. So let's
Oh, cool.
see
All right.
if we can go to that. Can you hear that?
It all starts here, off-site, where precast deck panels are fabricated to perfection. Each new deck panel is manufactured with precision in a controlled environment, ensuring that they are strong, durable, and ready to withstand heavy traffic. Once the precast panels are completed, they're loaded onto barges and shipped directly to the worksite. Traveling by water from the casting yard in Curtis Bay, these panels make their way to the bridge, ready for installation. As night falls at the Bay Bridge, construction crews spring into action. The eastbound span is closed, and two-way traffic operates on the westbound bridge. Crews begin the task of removing
Isn't that
existing
crazy?
sections of the bridge deck.
Hmm.
The team then uses cranes to remove the existing
Look
sections
at that.
from the bridge. Once the old section is removed, the crew members carefully lift the new precast panels and set atop new bearings on the existing trusses, ensuring a perfect
Right?
fit for each section of
Wow.
the bridge. With precision and teamwork, the new deck panel is secured into place, strong, reliable, and ready for traffic. At a later date, the temporary concrete connection slabs are removed and replaced with permanent concrete, ensuring a smooth ride. By the time morning comes, the bridge is back open, with a fresh section in place, ready for the
Isn't
day's
that
commuters.
wild?
As part of the Maryland Artificial Reef Initiative, the MDTA is recycling the eastbound Bay Bridge deck panels removed during this project. These deck panels are being deposited at the existing Hackett Point Artificial Reef, which is located in the Chesapeake Bay southwest of the Bay Bridge. The artificial reef creation will improve recreational and commercial fishing and will assist in jump-starting benthic growth of organisms, such as oysters, that ultimately leads to ecologically functioning reef complexes that support fish populations. The MDTA's carefully crafted plan is improving the quality of the bridge, limiting traffic impacts, maximizing safety, protecting and enhancing the environment, and extending the service life of the bridge.
That was pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
To be able to see.
So what else we have in port news this week is, so I don't know how familiar you all are with all the different terminals and everything that they do here. Heck, I don't have them all memorized, but Consol, Consolidated Coal for short, is one of the most active terminals that we have here. And they're putting out probably 3 to 4 ships a week full of coal exporting. So when I heard that they were merging with another company, I kind of got curious. So just wanted to read up some stuff. And then probably the second half of this is, what are the capacities, and do we have to worry about losing business because of a merger? Because we all know typically mergers come, and it's because these two companies have figured out how to save money, which means what? You're consolidating people, offices, terminals, something. So anyway, Consol Energy Corp finalized its merger with Arch Resources on January 14th, renaming the combined company Core Natural Resources. In 2023, the Port of Baltimore set a 5-year high with coal exports totaling 28 million short tons. Now, that includes the other coal terminal, since we have two in town, but I thought that was an interesting statistic. Of course, since, right after that, the bridge went down. And so this is an article from 2024, so it just helps to paint a picture, but not really new current news related to the merger. But the export market is big and getting bigger for Consol. Not only is Consol's Pennsylvania mining complex one of the most cost-efficient coal producers, but having the terminal means that it can save money on some of the shipping costs. Consol Marine Terminal had its best year ever in 2023, shipping 19 million tons of coal. Neither Consol nor Arch has made any public statements about staff reductions or whether payroll cuts will be a part of the promised $110 to $140 million in annual savings resulting from the merger. Yeah.
So not having a chance to look at, maybe some behind the scenes or what some of the other information is coming out. Just alone, when yes, you could look at business mergers and see that there's sometimes there are personnel or reductions to achieve these kinds of cost reductions or cost savings. But sometimes it's just economies of scale and grouping, just alone grouping operations. And then, if you have contracts for service related to your business and you have more volume, you would have the ability to go and negotiate cheaper pricing because of volume moves or things like that. When I worked in industry, I worked for a German electronics company for a number of years, and we did that. We consolidated a freight model, and so there wasn't any reduction in labor force, but it was just the fact that we changed the model of how we moved freight. There was a significant significant savings. Correct. Yeah. So sometimes it's not personnel oriented.
Okay. And then the reason I brought this graphic up is, look at, obviously we know that the port stopped, right? Nothing really got in or out of here when the bridge came down. But just to look at that dark red line and see how much it went down and then how much it rebounded after the port came back open, I thought was something interesting to see. Yeah. Anyway, dredge ops continue. So if you're familiar with the harbor, it looks like, and we showed the diagram last week. Not that anybody saw the podcast because Mike didn't put hashtags when he populated the podcast through social media. So anyway, so it looks like the Fort McHenry channel is done. It looks like everything in Curtis Bay is done, or I'm assuming it's done, because all the close stuff goes to a DMCF, dredge material containment facility, that's in the harbor. And then once you get it out past Fort Smallwood into the Craig Hill channel, into the Craig Hill channel, then everything goes south like 20 miles to Poplar Island. So I think they're done with all the kind of everything inside the Key Bridge. And so now they're out in the Craig Hill channel. But I did want to try to show some photos and maybe a video that we got sent to us. So this is one of the tugs, and I think this is a cool shot because you can see how the lines are like lashed to the barge that it's pushing. So like if we ever talked about ATBs, the articulated barge, what they, where they go in with the pins, and it's basically one ship.
Mm-hmm.
The tug and the barge operates as one. Well, I mean, I think this is, not being a mariner, I'm a professional mariner myself. How how much can you get these two to act as one as you're pushing it down the bay?
So the barge and tugs that are designed to hook in like that.
Mhm.
The real benefit is that if in the instance where there's a fire or there's some type of issue with the barge, the tug can easily release itself and then go and take care of it or move around. It's a multi-purpose design, but this is kind of doing the same thing, the way that the lines are run from to hold the barge in place.
Mhm. And I would love to get a tour of one of those ATBs one time, because how do you package this? I don't know, these giant 5-inch diameter steel pins, and then doesn't salt water get in there? And then how do you keep it working? And just my engineering head goes, how does that all work? Anyway, next photo. So this is kind of interesting. This is actually from the company. This is actually from Curtin Marine. They put this on their Facebook page. These guys out here working in the snow in the harbor.
Oh, in the elements, yes.
Yes, sir. Kind of like we've said before, shipping doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a shot of the actual dredge. It's a huge piece of machinery. Yeah. And we've seen those pictures before. Here's another shot. This is at night. Look at the ice.
I was just about to say, look at all the ice that's there.
And this is the Coast Guard yard behind it.
Okay, yes. So what you're seeing here is a picture of the dredge operations. It's actually got a bucket full pulling up.
Right
And-
there, yeah.
And
You can see
with
that,
all of
yeah.
the lights shining and but in reflecting off of the ice and the water, that's got to be tough to work. It's cold. You're working in those elements anyway, but then have to deal with the ice on top of it.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is, there are some Coast Guard ships that can't even get to the only Coast Guard yard in the United States. The Coast Guard yard here in Curtis Bay is the only Coast Guard yard. And one of the guys that worked there said, well, I haven't seen anybody dredging back here in 10 years. So I think it was, from what I can gather, way overdue. And then there's some really interesting pictures. And I mean, if you're familiar with the Coast Guard yard, there's kind of a point, and then you go around the corner, and then they keep some smaller ships there. And this is back in what's called Arundel Cove. Let's zoom in a little bit for folks. They really got this barge back in here. So this is in the cove. Yes. And look at this giant barge that basically, because I think this is land over here. So there's not a whole lot of room for error. I mean, now look, it's all the way back in the corner. This is like where the first picture we saw was out here dredging. Yeah. Right, the ship lift. Yeah. So this is, around the corner, all the way back and around the corner like an S turn. I mean, they've really got this thing back in there. And there's another shot of the scow, and I guess that makes sense. They have these. I didn't even notice this before. They have these screens for like junk that they find, and they put it on top of the screen so it doesn't get into the scow itself and be a part of like the water and the muck that they're sucking out with like pumps and as a daytime shot, that's a better.
Gives a really good perspective of how large that operation is compared to, the facility there. I've stood right there on that dock through a couple of tours that the Coast Guard provided, and it just that's a big area, but that little cove is small. So that really shows the size.
Let's see what else we have here. Oh, here we go. It's a quick little video.
Yeah, this is a little video of the
showing
video of the barge right there.
Right. Well, this isn't the dredge. This is one of the cranes that they use to lift the tubes and hoses up and over to extract the material out of the barges. So I didn't know this. It seems that when you're doing, so you have your dredge containment facility, which is diked off, wetland, for lack of a better term, and so I guess you have to bring your own crane and ability to get this stuff off the barge and up into the containment facility.
Well, let's talk about the Dali then for a minute.
Yeah. So this is a video that somebody found online, and I had my son Kyle edit it down because it was like 3.5 minutes of this person like kind of going back and forth. So I said, hey, can you edit this down and just basically show me the stern and the bow of the ship? So I think this is going to replay here in a little bit. Yeah, let's replay it. So there is the bow of the ship, and this was, this bulbous bow was trashed. So here it is repaired. Now I do have a picture somewhere of it fully painted, the bow fully painted. So here it is in dry dock, basically fully repaired, and you can see all different colors of paint on here before they do the final. Yeah, here, let me run it again.
Could you tell if they cut the front of it off and replaced a whole new front, or is this the legit like straight repair?
I think this is a straight repair. If we back it up a little bit here, I mean, this all looks the same. Some people were talking about maybe they were going to take like a whole bow section and just cut it and replace a whole bow section, but somehow it looks to me that they just repaired this lower section. And all of this looks pretty. Now, remember, the starboard bow is pretty beat up over here. It's got a big gash out of it. But we can't see that in this video. But yeah, I think it's just a local repair, for lack of a better term. Not, I mean, maybe they brought in a bulbous bow section and welded that in.
Sure. Interesting.
But it is interesting to see it pretty much repaired. Before it
went back underway.
Right, before they painted it. and it's out in service right now.
I think it was in down in South Korea. Is that correct? It's got some routes that it's running.
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Yeah, I think that's accurate. Of course, now I found it. The here, let's just go to it. So I found the Dali picture of it all repaired and painted.
So with this picture, this is the reason why I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
You could now they painted everything. They re-lettered it. All right, so the Dali name is in a slightly different font than the original. I picked up on that. But when I look at that,
I don't think they care about that.
Well, when I look at like what repair, if I could see any repair marks or anything, it all looks like fresh and new. So
what is this little
square
here?
That has a little blip there. So I'm just curious as to like what was involved in the actual repair.
Yeah, that would be interesting to know. I don't know if we'll ever. I don't know if we'll ever know that.
I also wonder when we were on the John Brown trip back to Baltimore and we passed the Dali when it was still in Norfolk, and we talked about the smell coming from it. Do you remember that?
I don't. It wasn't good, was it?
It was not a good smell that was coming from that general area, and we talked about whatever containers may have been crushed, if there was anything perishable in it, all of that's going down into that cargo hold. What was involved in the cleaning process of the ship? Ooh. Also, that I would be interested in that.
That's a completely other thought. Yeah, I didn't even thought about that. But yeah, that's
well, you had some information on the sister ship.
Oh right. This was interesting. So because the sister ships keep coming back here to the port, right? There must be 3 or 4 of them. I should have that written down. I don't. There's at least 3 or 4 of them that continue to visit the port, even though the Donnelly visited the port and had all these problems, and supposedly they were all wired similarly with similar or the same components. And so I keep wondering, is anybody at the port, inspecting these vessels to kind of see if they have the same inherent problems? And then the story comes up. Sister ship of infamous vessel that hit the Baltimore Bridge faces engine issues in the Pacific. The Maersk Saltoro has encountered an engine malfunction that's delaying timely delivery of its perishable cargo of Chilean cherries bound for China. The vessel operates under the management of Synergy Marine and is chartered by Maersk. Now, what was the point that I made earlier? It was the other ship was operated by Maersk. This ship is being chartered by Maersk. Now, does that mean the same thing?
Not sure. I would
so chartered. That means leased.
I would think so.
But operated would seem to be that's who the crew is working for. We need to get better understanding this stuff. So this is interesting. Stuff goes all over the world, and like the Dali. There were 170 containers of soybeans from a farm in Hampstead, Maryland. I mean, who had a clue that was happening?
Right.
But so here's another one. There are a total of 1,300 containers of cherries on board the Maersk Saltoro. This year, Chile has reported a record-breaking 17,000 containers of cherries being shipped.
Wow.
Now, here's the part that I found really interesting, because I've been kind of thinking out loud and asking this question to myself, because I don't know who to ask. Is somebody taking a look at these ships when they come to town? So earlier in September 2024, the mayor Saltoro made port call in Baltimore less than 6 months after the Dali incident. During the visit, federal investigators from the U.S. Coast Guard, the FBI, and the EPA boarded the ship to find if there were any similar issues. The full details of the investigation have not been revealed by authorities. But there is some, here's some few other small nuggets. The ship underwent a port state inspection in Chile, received a clean report, and then it experienced some issues with a radar during an inspection in Norfolk. And it was not detained, but the ship has a history of 14 inspections. Now, is that 14? Is that normal or?
Yeah, I have no clue what I have no clue what the best vessel inspection process is or how often it has to happen. With our cars, we got to go get, at least in the state of Maryland, we got to go get the emissions checked every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's under some kind of protocol like that or not.
I think I know two people that I could probably ask and get that information. And here's the funny part. I'm going to need you to remind me to do it because
good luck.
You remind me to remind you to remind me.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so there was a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Maryland Department of the Environment, the MDE, released a 792-page joint Sparrows Point Container Terminal Project draft environmental impact statement.
Dang.
I had to read. Yeah, I had to watch that to read it. To read the whole title out.
And at this moment, you're only about 450 pages in. Is that correct?
Yeah, sure, right. Yeah, when I was doing export compliance for a while, I would have to read the CFR, the Code of Federal Regulations, and the joke was if you're suffering from insomnia, go read that. So if I can't fall asleep tonight, I'll pull it up and read it. How about that?
Yeah.
So this is a report that
just look for the pictures.
Oh, you got some pictures?
No, I'm being a smarty. I was saying look through the report.
Look for the report for the pictures.
For the pretty diagrams. Yeah.
All right. Darn. I wish I had some pictures then. So this report is now out for public review and comment. And so they have done quite a bit of work to report on the status of Coke Point and what they're going to have to do to fully remediate that particular part of the Trade Point Atlantic property to turn it into the container terminal. There is a in-person public hearing that's coming up February the 25th, and we'll remind everybody of that.
Do we have that on our calendar of events?
I'll make sure this one gets put on our calendar of events.
We should
remind everybody. But on February the 25th, out at Solars Point Multipurpose Center, they're going to have a meeting, the joint meeting for the public to come out and listen to a summary of what's in that report. There'll also be a poster session where a lot of this is explained in a picture format. So there's your pictures that you're going to need. So you got to go to the meeting to get the pictures. Okay. When the Key Bridge, the environmental study was taking place a couple of months ago, they had it out at CCBC at the Dundalk campus, and I stopped by. It was a very informative. The people were very very open to discuss whatever comments or questions that you might have. This is your opportunity to go and listen and learn, and then provide comments during that open public time. So February the 25th is when you're going to want to go out. If you want to go and there's also a virtual. They'll have a virtual connection for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it's nothing like walking into a big room and seeing all the graphics like displayed on giant poster boards or on, rolled out on tables. It would be better than not going, but I would think graphically to be able to walk in and see that stuff would be a lot better than than the online version.
I agree. So there's a website. I'll put the link up here so you can click on it. But we'll put it in the credits also. www.nab.usace.army.mil/SPCT, and that's for the Sparrows Point Container Terminal. So we'll put that link up so you can go and start taking a look at that. But February 25th is that date.
Sounds good.
You wanted to talk about something. You got your Port of Baltimore magazine in the mail today, didn't you?
Yeah, a couple of days ago. So just wanted to encourage folks, there is a lot of good stuff in here. And as Kipp and I were talking offline, if you just like pretty pictures, there really are some fantastic photographs in here.
Good job with the photos in this magazine.
Right. So this says 20 years of fun. Carnival Cruise Line celebrates a big anniversary. So plus they re-up their contract. Right, we covered that. Captain Burkett, remember he was in the meeting and we were trying to figure out how to spell his name, and so it's right here in print. But I thought I would kind of go through here and see. So there's an article on Captain Burkett, captain of the port there. Yeah, and he was a very nice guy. Seemed to be quite outgoing and excited, right? So this is an interesting. This whole section, the sounding section, port gets a sizable visitor. Now, some of this stuff, admittedly, is a little bit old because these G4 ACL Conros come to port all the time. And there's our buddy Josh talking about spreading holiday cheer to the seafarers. And then Paul, there's the event that
at the state of the port's address. Yeah.
Right. It's like all the stuff that we know is like on one page. And then there's Jonathan Daniels doing another podcast. Did we watch that? I know I did. Oh, okay. But there's a lot of interesting things in here.
Sure. Oh, that's a nice shot.
Right.
That's a nice shot of the Carnival ship up there at the terminal.
And I don't know if this is the Pride or the Legend, but I mean, you get the idea. This is interesting. The thing that may only interest me, the entire cruise schedule.
Well, that's neat that they published it like that.
Now, this is my turn to promote. You can also go to www.baltimoreshipwatchers.com. Shipping links. The third one down is a cruise ship schedule. Choose Baltimore, and you can just go by month and look at every passenger ship that comes to port. So this is cool. There's the article about our new captain of the port. Yeah.
There you go.
Excellent. So as I'm encouraging people to get one of these, how do they go about doing that?
So the Port of Baltimore magazine is the official publication of the Maryland Port Administration.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives just like what Mike's got showed you as he's flipping through. It's latest news about partnerships and business partners and what's happening in the port. It's been in its current format since 2011. Can be viewed both in print and electronically. And so, they cover topics like cruise operations and, ship operations, environmental concerns and, outreach initiatives, dredging, terminal operations. So you can go and do this. If you want to get a copy of this, all right, if you want a print copy, you can sign up for a subscription. I believe it's a free subscription.
Yes.
By going to Port of Baltimore directory.com, and then there is a pull down menu for Port of Baltimore Magazine.
Okay.
All right. And so there are two different links. One is a subscription that you have to go to the Maryland Port Administration's website. And I'll put that link up. And then also, if you want to see any of the past issues from 2011 on, they are at portofbaltimore.directory.com/digital-magazine-archives. So I'll put that link up also.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So there's if you want to go back and look at what's, all of the cool stuff from previous years, the digital archives are available. So just to kind of here are some upcoming events that we have coming up. January the 28th, the Baltimore Museum of Industry has a virtual presentation on the history of the Key Bridge, including construction from the 1970s.
Yep, that's tomorrow.
Yep. So everybody will hear the latest status of the bridge reconstruction, a little bit about the museum's efforts to preserve the legacy of the original structure. So they've got an actual program in place to be able to capture this. I'm excited to see what they're able to come up with. The program will be hosted live on Zoom. So hopefully you'll hear this broadcast tonight and go on over there. You can definitely go to Baltimore Museum of Industry's website and get more information and all the sign-up information. On Thursday, February the 6th, BWI Business Partnership Signature Breakfast Series, Jonathan Daniels is going to wake up to crack of dawn and come out and give a update on the port's recovery after the Key Bridge collapse. So I will be having an extra cup of coffee on that meeting as I go to that one.
Oh, you are going?
Yeah, cool. I'm gonna go to that one. On Saturday, this one's important now. Everybody listen to this. If you've wanted a chance to go on the nuclear ship Savannah,
right,
February the 22nd. This is Saturday, February the 22nd start from, I think, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. They're going to have an open house. This is an open house for the public. You must sign up to be able to attend. Okay, if you go to the NS Savannah Association's website, which is ns-savannah.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom of their main page. There is an RSVP event sign up. So if you want a chance to go to take a tour of the nuclear ship Savannah down at Pier 13 in Canton, this is your opportunity to do so.
There aren't very many public tours.
Correct.
There aren't. And so the end of next year, 2027, it might be gone. So get down and check it out. It's a time capsule. It's fascinating. Go see it.
Exactly. This is your opportunity. They've been doing a lot of work. I know I was in there a couple of months ago, and we were walking in the nuclear chamber there where they pulled the reactor out. So they're getting everything kind of ready for general public viewing. So this is an opportunity for you to be able to do that. All right, two really quick kind of January follow-up history nuggets for our history segment. The first one I found, and I missed this one, so back January the 11th, and this is 1843. So Francis Scott Key passed away. So Key Bridge, the Key Bridge buoy that's out there, with Star Spangled Banner. We all know about this. We know about the dates and times in around 1812 and 1814 and everything that was happening. But in January the 11th, 1843, he passed away due to a lung infection in Baltimore while he was visiting his daughter, who was living in Baltimore at the time. So the other, and this I found was quite interesting. The U.S. Customs House in Baltimore. So in all the major port cities, they had customs houses that were built to go and handle all the customs transactions for importing and exporting. The building in Baltimore, the customs house, on January the 18th, 1972, was officially named a U.S. Customs historical landmark. And then in 1974 was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. In 1953, that building was turned into office building, so it wasn't even a customs house or using having customs transactions.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the last two January type dates that I've come across. So next episode, we'll start looking at what's been happening in February.
Okay. Sounds good. And then sometimes we like to highlight, but just wanted to say that the Key Bridge calendars, we made custom Key Bridge 2025 wall calendars, and they are sold out. So we sold 90 of them this year. We normally are scraping by trying to accost people and get them to buy 50. And so we sold 90 of them this year. So, and they're our fundraiser. It does take money to run the Shipwatchers email and the website, etc., bank accounts, So thank you so much for your support. Mm-hmm.
I think that's about it.
Yeah.
I will go ahead and put into the recording my apologies for any audio or video problems for today. We both have had some challenges with internet connectivity and the sound and mics and video blurring. So
yeah, it's been a mess.
Hopefully my editing skills tonight will overcome everything. So if you hear a blip or a hiccup, you can blame me, or you know what? Email Mike. Email Mike at BaltimoreShipwatchers.com and let him know how bad my editing skills are, and then we will continue on.
It's the least I can do. Take the abuse for you since you do all the editing. So as we do when we finish up, we are Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. We're a maritime advocacy group, so we try to do whatever we can to help get the message about the port and promote and tell people what's going on here in town. So we're a Facebook group. We have almost 16,000 members. We have, a website that has links to the live stream camera that runs 24 hours a day. You can get the link to this podcast. We sell some swag and sweatshirts and T-shirts, hats, coffee cups. There's all kinds of links for ship schedules, maps of the port, just tons and tons of port information that you can find in one great place. Where most of our accounts, we are Balto Ches, so BALTOCHES, Balto Ches, on Twix, Instagram, Reddit, Threads. I think I got them all. YouTube. Mm-hmm.
Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you want to hear the audio version of it.
Right on. We got through it. I hope you can put this together, because I know we were talking about how each mic and each video does a separate line in a mixer, and I hope you can piece all together when you get to the other end. Okay. Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Have a good week. Stay warm. It's now that we're kind of out of that hard cold snap, and
right. I actually washed my wife's car today. Well, I was going to take it through a car wash, and I don't have tolerance to wait in line, so I washed it myself.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Anyway.
All right, count it off. 3, 2, 1. Happy ship watching.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. Thanks for watching.